Oh, hi there. It's just me, your friendly neighborhood non-binary double agent Verily Bitchy. And today we're going on a journey through Etheria. Part 1. How Many Troubles? She-Ra and the Princesses of Power is a 21st century reboot of the original 80s kids cartoon She-Ra, the Princess of Power. A lot of changes were made pretty much entirely for the better. For one thing, the characters are far more diverse, and even my dear racist fascist viewers would agree it's far easier to tell everyone apart when not all the princesses are skinny white 23-year-old women, literally just cutouts of the same body with different clothes stuck on them. One significant way showrunner Noelle Stevenson shook things up was by making the characters broadly and vaguely queer. Spoiler alert, it gets gay, and most characters' sexual orientations are ambiguous in a really great way, which makes the world feel just kind of inherently queer. Some characters, such as Glimmer, Bow, and Seahawk, have been said to be bisexual by creators via social media and YouTube, and some were said to have been designed to be trans men and women. But the only character within the narrative to be explicitly portrayed as transgender is Double Trouble, the non-binary shapeshifter. Double Trouble never appeared in the original series, but the character is based on the one from the original series Bible, a reference document for writers on the show. Double Trouble was imagined to be from the kingdom Greenglade and to be Glimmer's cousin. She was a spy in the rebellion, a master of disguise. She could literally transform her eyebrows from this to this. Amazing, right? She hates the Horde all the more because she must pretend to work for them. Her only ever appearance was in the 1986 comic The Adventure of the Blue Diamond, then she vanished into the ether until Princesses of Power Season 4 aired in 2019. The new Double Trouble was vital to Season 4, but the only element of their original character that was retained from the original She-Ra was that they're a double agent, and also they like green, I guess. This Double Trouble has the ability to actually shapeshift their entire body, which I would imagine is the inspiration behind making the character non-binary. Double Trouble, like some of us non-binary folk IRL, can step outside and be a man or a woman anytime they like. Double Trouble is no longer related to Glimmer, as far as I can tell, and never mentions having a home. In fact, DT doesn't have much of a backstory at all, except as an entertainer and a spy. They're on the side of neither good nor evil, just whoever side pays the most. While Double Trouble spends most of Season 4 working for the Horde, they ultimately come to the side of good, because they were captured and made a deal with Glimmer. Part 2. Is a non-binary a magic? In the real world, a place I frankly hate to be, non-binary people are rarely from outer space. They are rarely fusions of two best friends, and perhaps even more rarely are lizard people in high heels, though that is a look. Non-binary people are usually assigned male or female at birth and later come to recognize themselves as non-binary, basically by looking inside oneself and seeing neither an M or an F stamp on one's heart. A portrayal of a non-binary character of the non-magical variety can be seen in an episode of Steven Universe in the form of Shep, just a normal, non-magical human who happens to be non-binary. But Double Trouble is what I would call a magical non-binary. Magical non-binary characters are nothing new. Like, the Daleks are non-binary. There's no guy Daleks and girl Daleks. The Daleks are non-binary. It's just a thing. It's just a thing in science fiction and fantasy. But in the last decade, we've begun to see an effort made to represent non-binary characters consciously with representation of the real-life non-binary community and movement in mind. Steven Universe has a plethora of non-binary characters in the form of the space alien Gems, who have no real gender but tend to be read as women and use she/her pronouns for one another. Steven Universe was created by Rebecca Sugar, a non-binary creator herself, and represent part of their self-expression. There's also another non-binary character in Steven Universe, Stevonnie, who is a fusion of a little boy and a little girl who come together to make an intersex non-binary person. In She-Ra, characters use gender-neutral pronouns to refer to Double Trouble, and the characters portrayed by non-binary actor Jacob Tobiah, reflective of the contemporary trend of having actual trans actors play the trans characters. Double Trouble has been referred to as non-binary by both the creator and the actor behind the character, and I wonder if they're maybe also meant to be intersex, just in they're meant to be physically beyond sex, because they can be anything. I can't confirm this, but the character is meant to be non-binary, the only non-binary character on the show. To me, Double Trouble reads as a non-binary person assigned male at birth. Their physique is very typically feminine, but they're much taller than a lot of the other women, with a voice deeper than woman's want, and they're played by an actor who was assigned male at birth. So they're rocking that AMAB NB chic. It's important to me to be able to recognize this kind of coding. Non-binary people are a very diverse bunch, but I feel that portrayals on TV tend to lean slightly towards AFAB people rather than my lot. Either way, Double Trouble is the only openly trans character in the show. Perfumer and Jewel Star have been confirmed by creators to have been intended to be trans, but their transness isn't visible within the show itself, making Double Trouble the only explicit trans representation in She-Ra. That's a lot of responsibility for one little non-binary lizard. Part 3. Why are representation? In this context, representation is when a minority character appears in mainstream media. When done well, representation is considered a positive step towards social equality. Whoopi Goldberg was famously inspired to become an actress by representation in Star Trek, seeing Uhura played by Nichelle Nichols. LGBT representation has a pretty fraught history in TV and film, with LGBT characters tending to be portrayed as sort of villainous or gross in earlier media. Today, high-budget films are full of high-quality representation, such as characters even being allowed to ambiguously touch each other sometimes. Big studios tend to not take too many risks with representation. If it isn't profitable, it isn't worth it. Business is business, which is in large part where queerbaiting comes from. You know, you get the LGBT audience watching, but you don't offend the rest of the audience. Smaller shows like She-Ra get a lot more flexibility when it comes to this, though they often have to start off a lot more subtle and slowly build up the support so that the network is like, oh, okay, we can still make money off this. The non-profit media monitoring organisation GLAAD reports annually on representation of various LGBT characters. Non-binary representation is pretty minimal in pop culture. From Steven Universe to The Good Place, when non-binary people do appear, it tends to be in the form of magical aliens or otherworldly beings. While there are more realistic examples of non-binary representation in TV shows such as One Day at a Time, within the fantasy genre, non-binary people tend to be very different from just a person who identifies as non-binary. Their non-binarism is a result of being an artificial being, or being an alien, or being a fusion. Being both non-binary and bisexual, this really sets off my bidey sense. I'm used to this idea of the societal dichotomy of bisexuality being used as a metaphor, and I feel like I'm starting to see that in non-binary representation as well. Steven Universe's portrayal of gender is fairly just kind of whatever. It proposes the question, what is gender? If you're an alien rock being formed of light, then why would gender even be a thing? If one rock loves another rock, are those rocks gay, or are those just rocks in love? And who the fuck cares? She-Ra's interpretation of being non-binary is kind of similar in that Double Trouble is just kind of sexless, or every sex, depending on what they want to be in the moment. They can be a woman, they can be a man, but when they are their gender-ambiguous lizard-like self, they are they. I often find myself skeptical of representation discourse. When I originally wrote the Magical Hedonistic Bisexual article, someone commented that they were surprised that I would include Piper Chapman as a normal bisexual, because often when it comes to representation, people are looking for respectability, which is fair enough to some degree. In the context of a homophobic culture, portraying gay people as evil can be downright harmful. Having a cheating bisexual character reinforces stereotypes about an already marginalized group. But sometimes the way that we police these character portrayals can be just as harmful and condescending. Bisexual non-monogamy is a stereotype, but if characters can never be non-monogamous, that's just playing into harmful respectability and erasing non-monogamous real-world bisexuals. Which is why I have such a hard time answering this next question. Part 4. Is Double Trouble shit? In the 1980s, Double Trouble was conceptualized specifically as a double agent working for the Horde, but secretly in league with the Rebellion. The new series took this concept of a double agent and ran with it. The term double agent has often been used in a derogatory way to refer to bisexuals. You can't trust a bisexual. They could switch sides from gay to straight at any moment. And that's why it set off alarm bells for me when this was taken so literally with Double Trouble. Non-binary people also straddle this line between man and woman. Double Trouble is a shapeshifter because they're a double agent, and I think they were conceptualized as non-binary because they're a shapeshifter. The Gems are non-binary because they're aliens. Stevonnie is non-binary because they're a fusion. Crowley is non-binary because he's an angel. Janet is non-binary because she's a Janet. And Danny the Street is non-binary because they are a literal street. Double Trouble is non-binary because they're a shapeshifter. People easily recognize Double Trouble as non-binary, and I wonder, why is that? Is it because Double Trouble comes from a non-binary race? Where does Double Trouble get this power from? If it's not from one of the crystals, is it magic? Can anyone do that if they can use magic? Can Shadow Weaver change her appearance? If Double Trouble is a unique non-binary shape-shifting race, then we never get to see that or explore that like we do with the crystal gems. And how come Double Trouble doesn't have a side? This is literally a battle between good and evil, where some people in Etheria submit to the Horde because they have no choice. Double Trouble has all the choice in the world because they can be anyone. They can go anywhere, but instead of choosing evil, they don't choose good. They choose their self. Do they have a history? Do they have any friends? Have they ever loved or been loved by anyone? In an interview with the Comics Beat, Jacob Tobiah justified Double Trouble's villainy thusly. Catra is both a villain and very much is not, right? Catra is a deeply human person who is flawed and trying to figure things out. But Double Trouble is not a deeply human person who is flawed and trying to figure things out. Double Trouble is full-on honey badger.
The honey badger is really pretty badass. They have no regard for any other animal whatsoever.
Unlike Entrapta, who joined the Horde when she felt her friends had abandoned her and thought she had made new friends, Double Trouble's first choice in all this was to work for the Horde just for the dollar bills. We only find out later that the motivation may have been personal survival, as Double Trouble says the best way to survive is always choose the winning side. But why would Double Trouble have a problem surviving? They can do anything, they can be anyone. What is the danger for them? Even after betraying the Horde, they rejoined as a fake clone, only leaving because they were bored of it. Despite their many years of violent atrocities, Double Trouble has no moral qualms profiting off of their reign of terror. Even when Double Trouble has moved on from their work with the Rebellion and the Horde, their job is still based on deception. And they never get to love anyone. Like, they don't have any friends. Catra and Scorpia both get a full-on redemption arc with, like, love interests at the end. And they probably killed a lot of people, but it's still important that they find love. Even Shadow Weaver gets a kind of redemption through her love for Catra and Adora. Double Trouble just gets a job, and then the job is destroyed, and then they push some people off a ledge, presumably because they want to be on the winning side again. And then there's the reptilian design, the sharp teeth, the slitted eyes. Reptiles and snakes in literature often connote deception, going back to everyone's favourite Jesus prequel, the Old Testament, or the new sequel to the Bible, Harry Potter. In the end, it leaves me feeling like Double Trouble's character revolves entirely around their non-binarism. Their body is non-binary, their gender is non-binary, their politics are non-binary. Is that all there is to them? Are they just a walking non-binary metaphor? In the same interview with The Beast, Jacob Tobiah also said, I feel like Double Trouble's character really kind of tells your respectability politics to shove it. And part of me is like, yeah, fuck you, respectability politics. But then I'm like, this is a show for 7-year-olds. Fuck you, 7-year-olds and your respectability politics. I think with shows like this, for children, we make choices. Like, there's no blood and gore because this is for children. We portray things like racial equality because that is good for children to see. And this show is definitely awesome when it comes to, like, portraying same-sex relationships as completely normal. It completely normalizes them. A little kid watching this would never for a second think that there's anything unusual about those kinds of relationships. But I don't really feel like they are doing the same thing in this context of this one single non-binary trans person. And honestly, when I first saw Double Trouble, I thought, oh fuck, is this, like, did Terps make this? Like, I was really worried for a minute there, and it was only because I saw that the actor was non-binary that I thought, okay, I guess they like non-binary people then, because they hired one. But I can see positive sides to the character as well. Double Trouble is a performer. They make constant references to acting, to playing parts, which speaks to me of the theory of gender performativity. Is any of this gender stuff real to begin with? Or are we all just playing parts? Do binaries even exist? In the world of She-Ra, the Princess of Power, there is a pretty strong distinction between the Rebellion and the Evil Horde, a traditional binary of good versus evil, but in She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, that binary is a weak one. Characters such as Entrapta will transition easily from side to side, not because of their cruelty or allegiance to forces of good or evil, but because of friendship and betrayal. In the end, the walls between the Rebellion and the Horde have broken down. Catra is redeemable, Scorpia is redeemable, even bloody Hordak seems to get a happy ending. maybe these teams, these sides were never real to begin with. This binary was never real. It doesn't matter what side Double Trouble would have picked, because in the end there are no sides. And while I can see that and appreciate it and enjoy it, because I adore She-Ra, there's a nagging part of me that just wishes Double Trouble was more than non-binarism, that they were more than a lack of allegiance, that they were more than a metaphor. Double Trouble is their own unique character, and a good one, but when they're one of the only non-binary characters in the world, especially for children's television, it seems kind of sad that their non-binarism is represented by not being kind. You know, even like they don't pick the side of evil, they're not nice to anyone, ever. At least Scorpia valued friendship. In the history of non-binary representation, for kids in particular, is it just maybe a little too soon? But then I catch myself saying, bitch, do you want boring non-binary representation? No, bitch, I do not. I love a queer villain almost as much as I love a queer hero. But portraying your only trans character, one of the only non-binary characters on TV ever, was taking on a lot of responsibility. I think She-Ra did us a little bit of a disservice by making Double Trouble the only non-binary character on the show, and by representing what it is to be non-binary as double crossing. Because I don't think I'm so much bothered by Double Trouble being non-binary as much as I am them being the only non-binary person. But maybe at the end of the day, I just take all of this too personally. Because of all the non-binary characters I'm seeing on TV, this is maybe the first time I saw someone who looked like me. I mean, I'm not a lizard, but you know what I mean. Like, being AMAB and non-binary on TV is just not very common. It's the first time I saw myself reflected, and it was in a show that I love and I was really excited about. And it's in a character who's incapable of allegiance or apparently love. I'm not even necessarily saying it's #problematic, TBH. I'm not. Don't quote me that it's #problematic, but it just kind of bummed me out. Maybe if I were a little kid, seeing my first non-binary character on TV, I would look up to Double Trouble, like Whoopi Goldberg, and think, wow, maybe someday I can not have any friends too. But this is all not to say that Double Trouble isn't a great character, really interesting and unique in the She-Ra universe. I love the idea of exploring how some people in Etheria might simply choose to not join the rebellion or the Horde. And Double Trouble canonizes the idea that it's normal in Etheria to have a third grammatical gender for people. And I think the right way to do representation will never be to limit the kind of characters we can show, but to constantly come up with new ones and tell different kinds of stories about different kinds of people. We're in kind of a weird time right now where non-binary people have suddenly been plopped into television. Actually, this decade has just been like a wild ride for trans representation. And there's still only a very small selection of non-binary representation. And we're still kind of figuring out what to do with that. I think we're, as a movement, non-binary people are still kind of figuring out, what does this all mean? What do we want? And I hope that in future, maybe Double Trouble can be one of those groundbreaking characters that can contribute towards finding as many new ways to tell as many different and interesting stories as possible about non-binary people, and maybe help kids think about gender in a new way and think, maybe there is another option. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying my videos and want to help me continue making my videos, please support my Patreon, which I'll put in a little box here. I don't know how big it will be, probably about this big. Also, please like and subscribe. Smash that like button, hit it really hard, break your mouse with, no, don't do that, because then you have to hit the subscribe as well. And that's just, okay, you only need one mouse. If you have two mouses and you want to smash one, that's an option. I'm just giving you options here. I don't want you to feel limited. And thank you, and I'll see you next time.